Today it's Friday, and that means Science! It's Sci Friday on SkyWatchTV for Friday, October 2nd, 2015. I'm Derek Gilbert, and with me in studio, my best friend, the author of Ebola and the Fourth Horseman of the Apocalypse, Sharon Gilbert.
Hi, honey.
Hi, sweetheart. Never a dull moment in the world of science.
There is not. And in fact, I want to say thank you to Dr. Chuck Missler, who sat in for me last Friday, and he could sit here every Friday as far as I'm concerned.
You should have seen, there was a group sitting out here, and they were cheering for, go longer, go longer. We try to keep these to a manageable length so it doesn't take up too much of your day, but you're right. I could have gone and I could have just sat and listened to him talk for a couple hours.
Oh, yeah, and I think he could have talked for a couple of hours, maybe even a couple of days.
Right.
But we'll have him back.
Yes.
Lord willing. Lots to talk about. Good grief. There is just way too much stuff to discuss. One of those is that DARPA's on the move again. They've just invested $32 million into a DNA manufacturing platform. Why is that important?
DNA manufacturing platform. Okay,
Yes.
Now DARPA, bear in mind, is the Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency, so it's a division of the U.S. military.
DNA manufacturing, why that takes place every day in our cells when
Right.
we divide. However, DARPA wants to have what they call living foundries. There's a lot going on with synthetic, man-made DNA. It's still using the quote-unquote dirt, as we call it, that God created.
Right.
Some of them, some teams are manufacturing their own nucleic acids from the start with a different backbone and everything, but essentially this is to develop, among other things, guide RNAs that are sold by companies for the CRISPR editing system.
Okay.
This allows for a large library of needed molecules that are needed by those who want to alter you and me.
So they want to basically custom design. This is the stuff of science fiction.
Not anymore. Not anymore. It is absolutely happening every day. And DARPA, as I said, just invested $32 million in. They've constantly got money going out to various companies that will help them to design a better soldier. That's really what it comes down to.
Well, that's the big question with DARPA. Anytime they do anything, the question is, how can this be weaponized? Because
Exactly.
that's their mission.
That's why they're funded.
Right, right. Well, we've been tracking what DARPA's been doing for a while because they've been investing a lot of money into, as Sharon's pointing out, genetics, but also robotics. They've got an ongoing robotics challenge. And strangely enough, the two leading robots in this challenge, one was called Shaft. Just talking about Shaft.
Yeah. Was Atlas in there too?
Atlas was the other. Atlas was created by Boston Dynamics,
Yeah.
and Shaft was a company out of Japan. Well, Google purchased both of those companies and withdrew them from the competition, which makes you wonder what Google is doing with robots that were developed for military research.
Well,
but anyway.
Google also is developing artificial intelligence.
Yes, yes.
So they want to put the two together, have an artificial intelligence within a construct such as a robot that can go into the field, and it's being sold as these will help mankind. If you've seen the TV show Humans, you know that these Hubots, or whatever they were called in the series, synths, I think.
Synths.
They were called Hubots in the Swedish version. These are meant to help mankind. We're being sold the idea of genome engineering, bioengineering humans as being for the betterment of us. We are essentially upgrading ourselves, according to transhumanists. They call it self-directed evolution.
Yeah. Well, it is a little disturbing that DARPA is involved in this because, and Tom Horn, God bless him, has been on the cutting edge and the leading edge of this kind of warning about this type of research and this technology. And there are those who've criticized him for being an alarmist, spreading fear. But the fact is that DARPA is, in fact, engaging not only in this, but another story that came out this week about work that they're doing on implants, neurological implants, chips that would be implanted in the brain to accomplish a couple of things, primarily enhancing performance on the battlefield, but also treating allowing soldiers who've been traumatized to recover more quickly from post-traumatic stress disorder by implanting a chip in the brain. But again, the question with anything DARPA does is, how can this be weaponized?
What's interesting about those chips is I've been reading about those for a couple of years. Probably they have been experiments for a dozen years or more. for me to have seen anything on them in the last couple of years. They are supposed to help with PTSD. And also if you see something really important to the military information, that rather than depend upon your natural memory, it's recording things. So it enables you to communicate probably wirelessly in some way, allows someone else to help control your access to your own memories, but it can also implant memories.
Or remove memories.
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
Yes,
can delete them or add them. So you don't know for sure. It's like that Arnold Schwarzenegger movie,
Total Recall.
Total Recall.
What is really real?
Yes.
Yes. Wow. And by the way, just a program note, I'll be talking with the author of a new book about the history of DARPA, Annie Jacobson, the book called The Pentagon's Brain, this weekend, and hope to have some audio from that for next week's, one or two of next week's reports.
Oh, that'll be awesome.
Yeah, and she's talking about this, this research, because this does relate to research into artificial intelligence and the creation of autonomous hunter-killer robots, or lethal autonomous weapon systems laws.
Let me tell you one of the other reasons that we need to be really worried about what DARPA is doing with regard to implants in our soldiers, robotics on the field. They can be hacked. If we can communicate with the robots and the soldiers, someone else can hack them. In fact, there's a story out this morning from the head of DARPA, and she says regarding cybersecurity, it's patch and pray.
In other words, they don't really have a robust solution. They're just trying to fix it as they go.
No, they don't. In fact, they just issued a call for suggestions and propositions for using analog means to monitor digital systems. Essentially, they're looking at the heat output, how many cycles you're using, all of the various activities that can be measured electronically, what the wavelength is you're putting out. This gets into physics, and physics, I don't want to talk about that. We need Chuck Missler for
Physics
that.
is hard, yeah.
That was one of the walls I hit. That's why I went into life sciences.
That's why I talk for a living.
But imagine if you're on the field and suddenly your Atlas robot is hacked by the enemy.
Yeah. Or if you're a soldier who is wirelessly networked through a chip in your brain to the rest of your platoon, and suddenly your whole platoon, your squad, is hacked.
And here's the other question. When you are a soldier and you are chipped, is it removed before you go home? Are you still constantly monitored? Will you still be under orders?
And just in case you think that we're maybe overstating the possibility of being hacked, comes a story this week that the former head of the National Security Agency, which is the biggest collection of geeks, hackers, crackers, and programmers in the world, General Keith Alexander had his identity stolen this past week.
Can you get...
So on the one hand, it's encouraging to know that even he is not immune to this type of hacking. But secondly, it is a warning, because somebody who should be more aware of this type of illicit electronic activity than anybody else still had his identity cracked and hacked.
You'd think so, wouldn't you?
A 35-year-old guy was the son of a Chicago police officer, was arrested for doing this. He tried to file a false tax return. And here's a lesson for you. If you're a hacker, don't hack the identity of the head of the NSA and then try to claim a tax return, because you're going to get caught.
Well, while we're talking about DARPA and cybersecurity, you may think that if I'm not a soldier, it's not going to be a big deal. But the truth is that the Internet of Things is all using open source software.
That's right.
Pretty much the same program to run firmware and operating systems.
That's right.
To run all of it. So your refrigerator may be hacked.
Your gym shoes.
Yeah, your clothing could be hacked.
Yeah.
And it could influence everything else on your local network in your home. So you don't know what's happening. The Internet of Things is huge. I mean, DARPA is also looking at cybersecurity solutions in the analog domain to help with that, because they want everything to talk to each other. They truly want us to put it in a virtual world.
In other words, bringing the matrix to reality. Everything around us connected one to another. Televisions, appliances, clothing to monitor our health
Probably
status.
our pets.
Well, our pets, yeah.
Well,
Heck,
Sam
a lot of our
spies
pets
on
are
us
already.
now, so.
That's right.
I do want to talk about one other thing that's sort of connected, because we talked about genetic engineering and the CRISPR system, but this is just basically genes. There was a story out that a gentleman did an experiment on his own taking a look at the Cohen family of genes and whether or not the Y chromosome in those who believe that they are, he believes that he's descended from Aaron. He believes he's a genuine Kohanim or Kohanim. If he's correct, then his research may have some validity to it, but if he's correct, that's where it all starts. He took a look at what's called a haplotype, which is a collection of genetic polymorphisms. Essentially, a polymorphism is a change at one point, usually, in your DNA, but it's a whole collection of them that are highly conserved over time. In other words, you have an immunity to, let's say, the plague, because your ancestors in Europe survived the plagues because of mutations in their genes. He's taking a look at this set of polymorphisms on the Y chromosome within a vast majority of populations. He found that within the Jewish population and those who self-identify as descending from within the Cohen family, the Levite class of family, that they tend to have that same haplotype. But the problem is that that same haplotype also occurred in other populations who are not Jewish.
Which means either he was looking for, made an incorrect assumption about the haplotype that he needed to find?
I have no idea. I really don't. I think it needs to be researched more.
Yeah.
I don't know how many people he looked at. A small number can give you very skewed data, but if it's true, he used a computer calculation to take a look at the separation between Sephardic and Ashkenazi Jews, which took place around 1000 AD, I think. And both branches have the same haplotype. So at the very least, they still had it back in 1000 AD. In other words, that haplotype goes back at least that far. He used a computer program to try to see how far it may have gone. And I'd have to, again, look at his actual research to know if this is reliable. But he believes it traces back to Aaron. Therefore, the modern Kohanim are indeed descended from Aaron the priest, which the reason I want to talk about this is because those who want to believe, to build a new,
third temple, right.
the third temple, they're going to need a priesthood class that genuinely descends from Aaron.
That's right. And I think the assumption is that they come from Aaron, but I think, if I remember the article correctly, all he did was he was able to say that this genetic marker, when you trace it back mathematically, came from a single ancestor around the year 1300 BC, which puts it roughly in the time frame of Moses and Aaron, within a couple hundred years, probably.
It's a real guess, to be honest
but it is
with
a
you.
Guess.
But it's a starting point. And I think those who, within the Temple Institute and other organizations that are trying very hard to bring the third temple about, this is important to them.
Right, because again, they need to identify those who are authorized to serve in the temple in order to build the temple. And as they draw closer, they have in fact posted the architectural drawings for a proposed third temple to the internet. You can find that at templeinstitute.org. Of course, they've also got the fundraising campaign going on to try to breed red heifers in Israel so they can find that perfect red heifer.
Yeah, and I've said this, so I just want to see how we're doing on time. I've said this before, that I'm not sure if there really were a red heifer that qualified that we'd know about it. I think that whatever group was raising that little heifer would be trying very hard to keep her identity secret.
Right, because there are geopolitical implications to that as well.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. Well, we are into the month of October now, as we mentioned, and coming up in October, a couple of things to tell you about. First of all, the Strategic Perspectives Conference, October 23rd through 25th at Koinonia Institute. Actually, this will be at the Coeur d'Alene Resort in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. Tom Horn will be there as a speaker. Of course, Chuck Missler, because Koinonia Institute is his ministry. Our good friend Gary Stearman from Prophecy Watchers will also be there.
You're going to be there.
I'll be there conducting interviews and just sucking up as much information as I can. Future guests on SkyWatch TV, Joel Richardson and Colonel Bob McGinnis will be there. So if you need information and would like to register for that event, it's the 10th Annual Strategic Perspectives Conference. Log on to koinoniainstitute.org. And during the month of October, I think a very timely thank you for your financial gift to SkyWatch TV. A copy of the book God's Ghostbusters. This was published in 2011. It's an anthology of essays about the supernatural realm, specifically related to things that go bump in the night: vampires, werewolves, ghosts, demons, and really fascinating essay by Sharon on virtual sin and the impact that it has on your soul. Why do we as humans have such a fascination with zombie movies?
I don't know. Horror movies. Well, I write
movies.
about it
Yeah.
in there. I think this whole collection is really important because there are young kids all over the world who are asking their parents, asking their pastors, their teachers, are there ghosts? Does the Bible explain them? Why are these supernatural, spiritual events taking place when it seems like the Christian world is just saying, no, there's no such thing.
No such thing as ghosts. Yeah. Well, this gift, our gift to you, by the way, for any donation to SkyWatch TV, you get a copy of God's Ghostbusters from SkyWatch TV. If you'd like information on how to donate, log on to skywatchtv.com and look for the menu bar at the top. It's on the right-hand side there. And again, for your gift of any size during the month of October, we'll send a copy of God's Ghostbusters to you. Well, another fascinating discussion
Time
that's
flew
ended
by
too quickly.
once again. Yeah.
For Sharon Gilbert, I'm Derek Gilbert. Thank you for watching as we keep watch. This is SkyWatch TV.